FSU Mood Tracker. We got to update it. It's a very unusual segment in a very unusual time of the year, but there is a very unusual energy shift happening in and around Tallahassee, Florida. Knowles247.com has been a must-visit destination today and really last night. Let me take you through the past 12 to 24 hours over there. Okay, so I drive from Columbus to Nashville last night. I get in about, somewhere between 12 and 1 o'clock a.m. Eastern time. And so I'm groggy, but I want to check it out because I know the dead period just lifted, and I know FSU staff, man, they've been building and building and building. And I mean, it felt like a carnival was coming to town right there in Tallahassee on campus at Florida State. So I go check the website, and I kid you not, I was so proud. It made me so happy. It was 1 o'clock on the East Coast. It was the middle of June, well, early June, and over at Knowles247.com. There was a multi-page deep thread that was being updated, boom, 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 like that, of recruiting updates. How were there recruiting updates at midnight, you ask, and at 1 a.m., you ask? Well, because Mike Norvell and his staff didn't even wait until the sun came up. They had an army of kids that were essentially waiting at the gates, and there was someone counting down 3, 2, 1, let them in. And then Florida State just had a massive recruiting event right there. They had personalized golf carts. I think it was great. But they had a lot of notoriety. Okay? Marketing is a big part of this. Make no mistake. I'm going to circle back to that in a second. So that happens. I take notice, as does pretty much everyone else in our business. And so I'm over there this morning, and I said, we can't let this go unnoticed because Florida State was bad on the field last year. And so an outside fan, if you're a Kansas State fan, you don't know anything about Florida State, and you were to just ask yourself, I wonder how FSU fans think right now. How do they feel? You'd probably think they're down in the dumps. You'd probably think that they don't have much to look forward to. And then we do this segment, and I'm telling you, you'd be wrong. That's part of the reason we do this segment, to give you kind of an on-the-ground view instead of a 50,000-foot view of fan bases. But I go over there today, and I ask the folks at Knowles 24/7, I got to do a new mood tracker for you guys. It's become clear. We got to update the mood in Tallahassee. So let me ask you, as I often do, I'll go to the message board and I'll say, fill in this blank. My current mood towards Florida State football is. And in solid Knowles 24/7 fashion, solid 40% of the answers were sexual. Obviously can't use those. There were some drug paraphernalia references. I'm going to sweep those to the side. But there were some really good responses here. There was a Club La Vila reference, rest in peace. If you know, you know. But also, cautious optimism was the floor. It was the worst response I got today. So again, let's reset the scene. Mike Norvell comes in there last year. It's not a good first year. They get upset at home against Georgia Tech in week 1. Things never improve all that much. And you would think, as an outsider, there's not a lot to be excited about there. These people are jacked. They are stoked. Why? Well, number one, they have bought into a vision. That's the simplest part. They've bought into a vision that the coaching staff is selling. More on the coaching staff in a second. They understand the current situation. I was on the Bench podcast the other day with Brendan Sonnone. We were talking about their over-under win total. Vegas put the over-under win total for FSU out this year at 5.5. They don't expect a great year for Florida State. The fan base did not come out like some other fan bases and say, this is disrespectful. How could they do this to us? Hey, inside baseball, or football as it were, don't ever call anything Vegas puts out disrespectful. If it's really disrespectful, shut up and go to the nearest betting window and take advantage of it. That's how you take advantage of a disrespectful point spread or team win total. Okay, now I'm off that soapbox and back on Florida State here. So FSU fans did not do that, is my point. They said, yeah, I think we can go over. You know, there's optimism they can go over, but it's not like they're expecting to contend for the ACC this year. They want to take a solid forward step. But what has them so excited is their coaching staff is recruiting with their hair on fire right now. And they're taking it ultra seriously. And they're all in on recruiting. They have totally bought in. And it's come from the top, and then it's trickled down, not just to the staff and the support staff, but to the fan base too. They're marketing the program properly. Here's the thing about marketing. Everyone claims that they are for real about it. Everyone claims they're serious about branding. They're not. I can promise you they're not. The only time that a rebrand and a rebirth of a program really works is if the head coach is on board with it. Mike Norvell is on board with this. That vision is from the top down. Okay, that's why everyone takes it seriously at Florida State, and that's why it feels so authentic at Florida State. It is. You don't know if it's going to work out. I have no clue how it's ultimately going to work out on the field, nor do the fans there. And no one's under the misguided notion that getting recruits on campus is ultimately going to lead to multiple championships down the road. It's a one step at a time process. Okay, we all get that. There's nothing wrong with being excited, though. There's nothing wrong with getting jacked, with seeing your coaching staff all in and seeing them all over social media and seeing them, despite a very poor product on the field, able to convince a bunch of highly rated kids, be in Tallahassee, Florida at 12:01 a.m. on June 1st. That's exciting. It's very exciting. But now they got to get to work, and they have, and you got to swallow your pride a little bit. And that's the key component here. This is not Colorado State football. This is Florida State, one of the premier brands in this sport for several decades at this point. If you're 70 years old and you're watching this show, you remember when Florida State was nothing, and you watched how they built their program. But if you're 35 years old, you've only known a Florida State that was a premier national brand. It's been down. Now, granted, they've won a title in the last decade, but for a little stretch here, it's been down. The best thing Mike Norvell and his staff have done, let me rephrase because we did a little jump there, so I want to be able to cut this later. The best thing Mike Norvell and his staff have done is they walked in, they looked around, did an honest assessment of the situation, and they said, this roster's not where it needs to be, the culture's not where it needs to be, and the sad reality is we're going to have to market Florida State because there's a generation of kids, coincidentally the ones we want to recruit, who do not view this brand the way that we grown men may view the brand. We know better, they don't. We got to teach them. And we got to swallow our pride a little bit, and we got to go sell Florida State. We may not think we should have to, but the bottom line is we do have to. Listen, hopefully there's going to come a day where you don't have to go sell Florida State. You got to keep kids from beating down your door trying to get in Florida State. Okay, that's the way they do it at Alabama now, at Clemson now, at Ohio State. It's not where Florida State is right now. But the refreshing difference is they have swallowed their pride, and they are doing everything in their power with the head coach on board, driving the bus in many cases, or the golf cart, in selling Florida State. And that's how you ultimately take that step, year 1 to year 2 to year 3. I look at a bunch of folks, and I've seen them all throughout the Twitter sphere and elsewhere today, sort of making fun of Florida State. What are you making fun of? I got news for you. A lot of you, some of you in that state, would gladly trade places and have a coaching staff with that kind of energy in your building. They hadn't put the product on the field yet. They don't have the results on the field yet, nor should they. No one would have walked in year 1 and accomplished a whole lot more than they did last year. But I'll tell you this, and I'll tell you why I'm excited about Florida State right now. The one question I had about Norvell when he came in was recruiting. I don't doubt the guy's football acumen. I don't doubt his ability to get on a grease board and draw me up a game plan. I don't doubt that. I doubted whether he was going to come from the G5 ranks at Memphis and dive into the recruiting waters at Florida. They are very deep in that state, and go toe-to-toe and be able to speak that language and drive the speed you need to down there. They are. Now you got to sign them. Because here's the one word of caution, okay? There's some caution tape around this segment. This time last year, albeit different circumstances, Tennessee was red hot. And ultimately, it fizzled out a little bit, and that coaching staff's no longer there. So again, we're taking all this in the proper context. Don't think we're not. Everyone understands that getting kids on campus does not in and of itself conclude anything. It just takes a great, big, giant step. Like if you've ever walked through your house at night, you're trying to get to the fridge, trying to eat something you're probably not supposed to be eating, and it's dark. You don't turn the lights on. You don't want anyone to know you're creeping around the house. You take one step at a time. And if you can get one of those big steps out of the way, you're not to the fridge yet, but you probably just took a big step over a bunch of Legos on the floor that would have befallen a lesser man. That's what we're trying to do. At Florida State, we're just trying to take steps over the Legos right now so that we don't end up in the hospital. And instead, we can compete for a championship one day. One day. Maybe a little bit down the road, but one day.